Tonight I'm pumped. It's an informative series. We're doing 3 of them. Captain Liam from Australia, Byron Bay, Eastleigh Point. First and foremost for me, I want to give a moment of appreciation and solitude for those who've lost property, those who've lost pets, and also the natural habitat that's lost and not remembered in these type of events. It's catastrophic what we just went through. Second, I'd like to thank the owner, Mr. Jim Glidewell, and his family, Parvina, his wife, and his whole team of support. His mission is to push forward this product that he has, which is a crew that's quite dynamic, they're quite versed in different skills, we're passionate about what we do, and we like a challenge. Which brings us to why we're here. Social media, digital marketing, it's a hot topic. These are the experts that know a lot more than me, so I'll pass you over. But a thanks to our sponsors, National Marine Supplies, we've also got Cut and Cured, we've also got Club Tiki. There's a lot of people that have reached out, and I'm very grateful for that, and I really appreciate it. Without any further ado, Oriana.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. I see you. So before I start firing away these hot questions for them, I'm going to let all the speakers introduce themselves. So if you don't mind, guys, just down the line, say your name, who you are, what you do, what company you represent. Keep it short and sweet, and then we'll be off to the races.
I'm Ryan McBinney. I'm the Director of Content for Boats Group. We own Boats.com, YachtWorld, and Boat Trader. So the world's largest marketplaces for boats. And we do a lot of lifestyle content. We have a lot of marine journalists around the world and videographers and social media content. So that's all under my purview.
Hi, how are you doing? I'm Captain Paul from Motoryacht Unbridled. I'm sure I know quite a few of you actually here in the room. So that's pretty cool seeing some familiar faces. We're just another charter yacht as well, like what I guess Unbridled's trying to do today. So it was good to be invited and be part of what's happening.
Hi, I'm Victoria Chalaya and
Rico Stahl.
Kanu, and we're documenting that on the second channel that we have called Naughty Guys.
Yeah, that's Nauti, not GH.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex Haubrich. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, and I run a community channel for yacht crew called YachtieWorld. I have been in the super yachting industry since 2011, and I have evolved and watched how social media has evolved in our industry, and that's all I'll be talking about today.
All right, Captain Paul, this is for you. What social media platforms bring in the most qualified charter leads, and what would your advice be to someone starting to build a strategy on that platform?
That's a very loaded question, but and thank you. I did actually get the question beforehand, but honestly, Instagram is still our biggest platform. We've got on Loon, we're about 230,000 followers on Instagram now, with a reach of about 10 to 15 million per month. And on there, we get a ton of interaction and DMs from people asking for charters. Often it's not the primary, but it's usually like the primary's kids or even the primary's grandkids that will bring us they'll go to their grandparents, I guess, and say, "Grandpa, I want to charter this boat next summer." But and then obviously it goes through the process from that, and then we put them in touch with one of our charter brokers, and goes from there. So YouTube's still really much for us. I know you guys are huge on YouTube, but it's still a bit of an experiment for us. We're around about 200,000 followers on there as well, but there we're trying to more doing like intro the crew, show the destinations, show what the boat can do, whereas Instagram's that picture perfect world of, just everything is perfect on Instagram. So I think that's maybe why, and we've been doing it much longer. We've been doing Instagram going on 8 years now. YouTube's only been about a year or so, and then TikTok, I mean, my dancing videos haven't really done that well. So, but yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think the only thing, if you have any, I guess advice to anyone starting off on Instagram or on YouTube?
It's social media. You got to keep it professional, understand that you're representing a boat and a brand, and then you just got to keep feeding it. That's the biggest thing. I mean, it took us a year to get 10,000 followers. By year 2, we were at 25. By year 7, we were at 100, and only now we've just reached that momentum where we're gaining 20,000-30,000 followers a month. But you just got to keep putting it in. If you stall out the page and the channel,
You guys are very consistent.
Victoria, this next one's for you. So you and Rico travel all over the world, and I feel like I always see you in another country or location. The question for you is, how do you produce content around the world without a large production team traveling with you? What are the tools you use? Sorry, I'm almost done. I feel like I'm giving a wedding speech. What are the tools you use, the processes to stay organized, and any key products you'd recommend?
Okay. We're actually that perfect example of kind of traveling light, I think, compared to a lot of other YouTubers. So
In terms of equipment.
yes. But everything we have fits in the carry-on, which is usually what Rico carries around. It's one carry-on, and a lot of it is backups and things. But in reality, we film on small cameras. All our equipment is. Most of our equipment is DJI, some GoPros. We're tried to go professional and realize that it didn't do anything for us, or anything that actually hurt us. So the content we produced is more relatable and fun educational. So we felt like producing it this way actually kind of gives people a feel that they're there. But it's shocking to me how many times people come up and say like, love the quality of your content. It's so high quality, and I just go like, it's a GoPro, it's a DJI. So I think the trick is in the content, is in what you put out, and the putting time into deciding what you're gonna do. It's really not in the quality of equipment, because in reality this is good enough. Like, you can produce amazing content with your phone. Sometimes in low light, we will use an iPhone on certain things because it just does better. So you don't need a lot of equipment to produce great content.
I think it really depends what you're trying to achieve. If you want to have that amazing cinematic footage which looks like a Hollywood movie, then yes, you need the big equipment. But if you want people to feel they're there with you, you don't need it at all. I think it actually is counterproductive. I think if you go with a GoPro or DJI, small action cam, and you still air it in 4K, people feel they're there with you, and I think they can connect with the content better, and they can connect with you better. That's at least what our experience was, right?
The only other thing would be if you have any processes or keys to staying organized, especially while traveling, you're jet lagged all the time. It's hard.
So I would say back up as often as you can. Organize folders, put your content in the way that you can as early as you can, because 2 days later you will not remember what you filmed. So just stay organized the best way you can, make notes, and have backups for everything.
And don't delete anything until it's aired. Not even on the original SD cards. Just keep the SD cards, buy some extra ones. Because we have had issues before where, you kind of like, oh shoot, where's the original footage?
So Ryan, you are tasked with the challenge of working across YachtWorld, Boat Trader, a million other different platforms that Boats Group is running. And you're trying to constantly push out interesting content while also keeping brand recognition and building the brands themselves. How should someone balance performance marketing with branding and awareness?
Cool. Yeah. So I think we're talking about that all the time. When you're producing content, you need to keep in mind your full funnel marketing strategy, right? So I think in the marine industry specifically, these are big ticket items, right? Like booking a charter. If you were selling purses, handbags, jewelry, it's probably bottom funnel transactional. But so with social media being top funnel, I think we just think about, how can we maximize reach, but how can we also balance that with clips and content that sort of develop our voice and tone and build a deeper relationship with our audience. So they may get less of a reach. So we kind of try to play with that. You and I play with that on YachtWorld a lot. But we put up, and I know you guys have done this, if we put up an 8-second clip of a cigarette 52 with 6 500 horsepower outboards, that's going to get a ton of views, right? And ordering a lot. I mean, you guys do the same thing, right? But then you want to balance it with something a little deeper, right? Like, I think one thing we try to do is, if we do 3 pieces of content in a row that were performance oriented, and then we try to offset that with something that we think is a little bit more developing our voice and tone and building that relationship with the audience. Yeah.
Alex, your turn. How has social media transformed over the past decade, and what are the key shifts that have shaped its current landscape?
All right, so I started as a deckhand in 2012, 2011, and back then Instagram was still pretty new. I was still figuring it out. It gave you the opportunity to connect with people from around the world remotely, which was a game changer. It was a way to express yourself, your freedom in the form of photos. And fast forward 10 years and it has evolved rapidly. Everybody's got an Instagram account now. Everyone's competing for more territory, more followers. The content, the value of the content is a lot more important now, but it's also shifting constantly, where valuable content is not just well curated or edited content anymore. It's all about the story. So pay attention to what you put out there. By a show of hands, I'd like to know how many of you are involved with a brand, building a brand or a personal brand? Raise your hand. Okay, so pretty much most of you. How many of you collaborate with others on a consistent basis in order to grow your business? Raise your hand. Okay, so what I've noticed in the YachtieWorld, first of all, is a community page, and the way we've grown is by collaborating with others at scale on a consistent basis. I took the approach of being interested, not interesting. So it wasn't about me, it was about yacht crew. I wanted to connect the yacht crew together because I came from a pain point. So first year on a yacht, I was isolated in Stockton, California, a place called Tinsley Island. I was the only boat there. There was no crew around. All the crew on my boat left and I was there to take care of it. So it gave me a lot of time to reflect on what I wanted to do. It wasn't what I thought the yachting industry was all about. So I got curious. I was like, what are other yachties doing out there really? Because this can't be it. This can't be the life that I put so much into, and now I'm by myself. I had the jet ski in the water that kept me entertained for 2 weeks, but that was about it. So I started looking into it, looked online. There was no real community places on social media because it was so new. There was no places for crew. I couldn't see what crew were up to. So I started this little hashtag YachtieWorld, and tried to get people to use that hashtag. And when I would see somebody use that hashtag, for instance, I pretty much dominated and owned that hashtag from the beginning. And that's what you should try and do with your brand as well. Try and find a unique hashtag that anybody can use, that's going to be mostly your content. So that's what I did. And more people started to use that hashtag, so then I could reach out to them and say, hey, I would love to feature your content on my page because it's aligned with Yacht Crew and I think they will enjoy this. So I started doing that. It built up slowly. I knew for at least 10 years I wouldn't see any financial gain from this, but I was working on board yachts, thankfully, and it paid well. But that's how I started collaborating, being interested in other people. What I find works for me is move light, capture something on the moment. I use my phone for everything. I don't give people the opportunity to prepare a speech, so I do a lot of journalist style content where I interview crew or people like that, and I just take my phone up and I start asking them questions. I know what questions I'll ask them, so then they start speaking. As soon as you give them time to think, they're gonna freeze and they're not gonna give you any valuable content. So I find that just going up to people, trying to catch that raw energy, that high energy, gets a lot of engagement on my page. Anything that's staged or scripted tends to do not as well. I also find, which is really frustrating, when I put in a lot of effort, time, money to do a whole production with quality equipment, for me anyways, the results are not what I was expecting or what I wanted. You know, you put in all this time, you edit for 10 hours, you make this perfect thing, you watch it over and over and over and over again, and you post it and it gets, very little reach and very little likes, which is annoying. So, I encourage you guys, if you haven't started already, just post whatever, try and show the raw stuff. Today, people are resonating with personal brands more than brands. So something Loon has done well is creating almost like a personal brand, the whole yacht, for a much larger brand. They were the first to understand branding, as far as I can tell, for super yachts.
We would like to know how to improve the quality of followers. As pure numbers goes, is there anything that we can do to increase people who are going to actually be following to buy our product, to book a charter, versus, just getting people that want to look at the pretty boats that are going by?
First, I would say for me personally, I find that Instagram is a great platform to connect with your audience on a personal level. TikTok is another beast. Content can go absolutely viral at random times and not at other times. The way I have gathered my main core following is just by connecting with them on a personal level, DMs, seeing them on a repeated basis.
TikTok, Instagram, clearly you got to post at least once a day. If you don't post once a day as a brand, as a business, as a product you want to pitch, it's probably not going to translate in a lot of followers because it's not enough there for them to watch. And also give the opportunity maybe for other people to repost it, tag people, so then you expand your reach with that.
So to be more specific with the right audience, I think a lot of people nowadays don't utilize hashtags enough on Instagram. I feel like that in the beginning, that's what Instagram was really big on, and a lot of people sort of decided it wasn't making a difference. It is not making a difference as much in the reach anymore because of Reels, but it is making a huge difference in who it's targeted to. So if you guys want to be specifically targeting certain people, you really need to research your hashtags, you need to change them. So for your brand, it would not just be what your brand is. That actually is not as important. You might want to just do 2 of those, maybe 3, because those are the ones that when people look at that hashtag, which is specific to your brand, you will pop up under. But what you really want to use the hashtags for, you only got 30. Also go wider into Google and see what people are Googling. I live in analytics. I think tags are extremely important because I've seen them work. Don't forget about the tags. On YouTube, if you're building your brand on YouTube, when you look at the tags, don't just put single or double words that you would think of how you think of Instagram. Completely different animal. I would use how much is crew getting paid on a super yacht, and that whole thing is a tag. So you want to put into YouTube to build a brand real questions that people ask. So the new so there's a SEO as we know it, and it's no longer that. Now it's so basically the AI is now to a whole different world of tags and how we search in Google. So my advice, when you go home today, you look at Google, you put in something that you would search for your brand that you think that would, you qualifies you. You put in a simple question that is specifically to your brand or to your company. And then you scroll down, and somewhere down there, it's going to say other things people ask or something like that. It's specifically going to say ask. So say people search for, and then say people ask. Take some of those questions that people ask, take them exactly as a tag, and put them into YouTube, your tags. That is going to make a huge difference, and watch what it does for the videos.
What we noticed when we worked with other brands, manufacturers in the marine industry, for example, if it's just about the product and there's no personality at all attached to it, usually it didn't work as well. So if you have a product you want to pitch, you put a face to it, or you attach a family business to it, or a family to it, or anybody people can connect with, it worked a lot better. The videos worked better, the content worked better, and it was obviously a lot better of an outcome for the actual business, which we're trying to sell the product. So don't make it always about the product. Try to make it personal. It could be a CEO of the company. It could be a manager, it could be a sales manager, whatever it is, somebody who's likable, has some charisma, has some, energy people can connect with. It will work a lot better. And obviously in the super yacht industry, it's kind of doesn't need to be said, but you don't really sell super yachts. You sell a lifestyle, you sell a connection with people. It's not about the products. Once you get sales pitchy, you lost pretty much all your audience already.
Yeah, you pretty much hit it on the head there, I think, Miko. That's what we've discovered as well. We've transitioned. Instagram used to be your pictures, and then it's been the reels, and now it's more about the person than the product. And that's something that we're working on. We do a lot of that on YouTube, still a lot more than Insta, but showing your face, showing how you do this, how you get there, your journey to do what you've done. That's so important now, and like people want to have that connection with the person, not just the brand, but with the person that's bringing this. And so, I mean, I think we've all gone through it. The standing there, I see you still with the phone out doing the, hey, this is Alex from YachtieWorld. You look like a tit, you do. And there's no way. There's no way around it. Put the camera down in the airport, do a little dance, but you get through it, and then that is how people relate with you, and that's how you grow. So
It's a lot more acceptable now, I feel like.
yeah,
People are used
Quite normal, yeah. People are used to it.
Gen Z have them.
and no one cares. I mean, nobody actually cares. No, people aren't there. Some people might laugh
Everyone's
at you.
worried
but-
about themselves only most of the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nobody's paying attention to you talking in front of the camera. But everyone thinks everyone's looking at them. It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think ROI on marketing spend is a question that we deal with all the time, and it's really hard to measure a lot of times, but impressions have great value. I think last year we had almost 600 million impressions across all of our channels, and I remember one clip, the top viewed clip was about 80 million views for one clip, right? That means that boat company got 80 million impressions, right? Is that directly correlated to sales? No, it's hard to do that, right? I mean, there are ways you can do that. Our paid team runs retargeted ads. So Boat Trader, America's largest boating marketplace, we have all different types of boats, right? From John boats to super yachts. We target if somebody's looking at a certain type of boat on Facebook Marketplace, we find out their geolocation, we serve them ads for those types of boats in that location. On the organic side, I think a lot of times people are like, well, how, if we spend this with you guys, how do we prove that turned into sales? And we just say, you don't. This is marketing, And if you keep doing it and you're consistent about it, it will pay off. There's a ripple effect. There are some tools I will mention. We've been using CTV as a performance channel. If you guys want to check out Mountain, MNTN, they've really found a way to track, like if somebody's watching a show on a streaming TV platform, and then they see an ad, and then it ties their IP address, and later if they go to that site, and it'll actually track it. So Mountain is pretty cool for that. Check that out. But that's a big topic that we get a lot.
No, for sure. It's always hard to convince people to give you money to marketing. There's so many memes out there about the marketing division being please, trust me, it helps with sales. I would just quickly add too, I think Victoria, you raised something really interesting in terms of how do you directly talk to them? How do you leverage hashtags for SEO? Because ultimately that's what it is, right? And I think a lot of people overlook that and overlook the value of even, the different size hashtags. And they're like, all right, the biggest one ever. It's well, you're competing with 1 million, 2 million other people all hashtagging, I love Fort Lauderdale. I think I'd also would just quickly add on to that is I see a lot of people starting, or I guess marketing the product and not the problem. And if you go into subreddit groups or even on Google, asking what people are wanting to know about your brand, right? Or what are the problems that your customers are having? What are the complaints? And positioning your videos like that, the people watching those videos are the ones that are looking to buy it. And that's gonna be a good indication based off the views of those specific videos, what's going on. Because it's easy to put, a beautiful boat in the Bahamas with people swimming around and have 1 million people watch it, but there's really no way to really know who's going to convert. But when you get into the nitty gritty, those people have some more top of the funnel value there. So Ryan, I know you just finished, but back to you. All right, what are ways that you see innovation being successful when it comes to content creation? Are there key styles or best practices that help with virality?
Yeah. Show of hands here. Who has read How to Build a Story Brand? Has anybody read that? Okay, cool. You know, so check it out. I think the SB7 framework it's a 7-stage kind of process to follow for marketers to tell stories. Sort of based on if anybody's read Save the Cat, it's like the formula that Hollywood uses to write their screenplays. Kind of based on like Joseph Campbell's mythic structure. But the point is, you make what you just said. It's a good segue. You make the customer the hero of the video, right? So what is the pain point? You know, the guy sitting on the beach watches a yacht go by with a bunch of people partying, right? He's not on his yacht. Well, he's the main character now, and then get him on the yacht. And so I think there's a lot of like formulas and ways that you can do that. And I think it's also just stay fresh. Don't just stand in front of something and talk about it. Unless, actually, you guys did that video that was like a joke. Wasn't that you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it went here.
Yeah, here you sit, here you eat. Yeah, that was really good. But no, I mean, if it's funny, then yeah. But yeah, keep it fresh, keep it engaging. And, I just watched. Remember Matt Parker and Trey Stone, who created South Park, and I just watched a talk with them the other day, and they said when they do an episode, they take each scene, and if they can say, and then this happens, and then that happens, they're like, it's a bad script. We should say, but in between, or and therefore. So you keep the story moving. You know, it's not just sequential storytelling. It's like there's some drama build up there, right? Yeah. So yeah. Oh, lastly, I think everybody's scrolling on their phones. You have to stop them in their tracks, right? So that's really important too. You got like 2 to 5 seconds to stop somebody. So.
What has been the most unexpected approach that has led to growth across all platforms, specifically targeting leads?
I mean, it's just constantly evolving as well. Social media is, as you touched on before, I mean, it was pictures and reels, and it's just, you've got to stay with the trends and keep moving. And that's something that we're constantly doing is, watching other people's videos and seeing like, wow, that guy got 1 million views for doing that, like the Polish video. Yeah. So one of my stewardesses is Polish and she's got a really strict, thick accent. Yeah. And so I think someone else, it was like a hotel or something, did one first, and we were like, we can do this, and like literally. I think it was Sunreef did one as well, and so I was like, we need to film this today and post it today, because before everybody else sort of jumps onto the bandwagon of that, you want to try and beat upcoming trends and be one of the first people that is doing it. But to answer the question, the unexpected, I mean, for us at the moment, live streams have just gone huge. We're actually live streaming the whole Atlantic crossing at the moment. So if you go onto Yachting's YouTube, you can check in with the boat at any point in time over 22 days as they're going the whole way. The crew are doing twice daily check-ins. This is where we are, this is what we're doing. Today they caught a massive wahoo on the back, and the whole thing was filmed, so you can see the guys reel it in, and then we had to blur out the butchering of the fish, but and the amount of interaction with we have so many fans, and I'm sure there's actually a few watching now that are really involved, and really I think it's like, it's like TV when you get to talk to the people. And so I click in and I'll type some back and forth with the people, and just really treat especially your high level fans, treat them well, and it comes back.
Next one for Alex. What new roles and skills have emerged for crew, entrepreneurs, and brokers due to the expanding demands of social media in yachting?
I've noticed that, first of all, there's a lot more yachts hiring dedicated content creators. Again, Loon was the pioneer in that. Next is Captain Liam's looking to hire a social media manager as well. So he's jumping on that trend, building the Unbridled brand as well, and learning a lot about that in the process. I also noticed that a lot of brokers are becoming more and more self-sufficient. They become their own production companies, and they do their own marketing and not relying on the company as a whole. They can pretty much sell their own boats and create their own little media company themselves, and that increases trust, loyalty, and eventually that translates into sales. Businesses as well are starting to jump on the trends and create personal brands within their brands, and that's what seems to be working a lot better than traditional style media, which is fancy, highly produced product shots like you touched on. People will buy from people they like, not from fancy photos or videos. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I think that touched on a lot of good points, and it is interesting to see how, brokers or businesses do have to kind of now perform in this space they weren't familiar with before, right? In the beginning of the career, they weren't having to deal with this, but now you're pretty much having to sell yourself and differentiate in different ways.
A lot of brands are still trying to learn what this whole social media thing is.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that big pain point, and I've been helping a lot of businesses, especially those who serve crew. I've been helping them understand what social media is, how to kind of adapt with the changes, and how to grow their social media following, loyalty, love, trust, and all the good stuff, so they can convert into sales. Because a lot of them are, like when I started out, I think 2015 was the first time I started as a content creator professionally, where I worked for a school to do videos of the boat show. That was the first time I did it on my little GoPro. Still remember going there and seeing how shaky the video, because there was no stabilization built in. So then I was like, okay, let me go to Best Buy, go buy a little gimbal, and then the next day it was even better. This was my first gig, my first client. Thank you, PYT. Yeah, so that was fun.
But you will be actually really surprised how many companies still have their media department, or their advertising department, and they're still completely thrown off of what YouTube is and how that works, and why we should do this. It's mind-blowing to me how many companies are still out there. They have no clue actually what's going on.
I agree. A lot of these guys are willing to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on traditional marketing, where they can't really track the ROI, such as magazines, which magazines are still powerful, but you can't really track the ROI. Billboards, which is all great. You need a mix of everything, but they get stuck on the social media because they're just not willing to understand it, or they just can't wrap their head around it. It's something completely new.
Yeah, I think they're afraid of it. And 2 years ago, the conversation was like, well, if you don't get on this wagon, you will be left behind. Now conversation is, if you are not on this wagon, you are behind. Like in our industry, it has shifted. I feel like 2 years ago, the shift started to happen. And this last year was a big change. And I think this coming year is a massive year for yachting industry in the marketing social media world. So if you guys are not building the brands already, if you're not spending time and putting out any content that you think you can, you should be doing it, because you will be left behind. And I think the biggest problem is that people feel like they have to wait for this perfect. I mean, we have this all the time with the brand that we work with, a bit more closer on like an ambassadorship level, that they're asking us what they should be doing on their social media, and it's simple as like they're overthinking it. They think they have to overproduce their content, they have to prepare scripts, they have to do all this stuff. In reality, what they do is already so interesting. Simple 15-second clips, reels of what they do in their manufacturing is fascinating to so many people, and they just don't know how to do it. So our biggest advice is just pick up the phone, pick up the camera, and just go film what you're allowed to show. Just do it, yeah. And I think that's overthinking is what's holding a lot of people back. Just do it.
Yeah, like if you're a boat dealership, for example, you want to build your brand, you don't know what to put out. It's like, well, how many times can we take the boat to the sandbank and barbecue and have a drink? Yeah, that's great. I mean, you should have that in between, but also film when the boat is getting hauled out, when they do a 100-hour service on the outboards, when they put it back in, because people are interested, they can connect with that because they know they're gonna have a service come up, they're gonna have a warranty period coming up. So it's like, oh look, we're replacing the teak plank here, and then we put a new one on. It's super simple content, but people are interested in it. So I think just don't overthink it. Just film and put it out.
Yeah, having content that is not your best content is better than not having any content. So you don't know what's gonna hit, you don't know what's gonna go big. So just start building content. Start thinking of it as like recording your Thanksgiving party at your house, where you used to just do little clips and little funny things that you see that your friends do. And similar way, you have to think of your brand. You cannot take your brand so seriously. Even with massive, huge builders now, the ones that are starting to realize, they're starting to make it personal. They're going away from completely fully polished content, which is, I think, where this shift has happened about a year ago.
Just wanted to echo that too. I have a friend that says the ABCs of content are always be capturing, and I think that's true. Is like I'm always running an iPhone, even if I'm like directing a shoot. We have 2 professional crews there and a Mavic in the air, but how many times has the clip that got the most views just been off my iPhone? And so always be capturing, and then you just have a huge library of stuff that will work.
No, I mean, I think you guys all touched on really great points, and I love these conversational seminars because we all get to kind of share, the opinions. But absolutely, it's scary, especially as a heritage brand, to have to take years or generations of reputation and then narrow it down into how do we get people's attention and want to buy our stuff in 3 seconds. And I think sometimes almost it's easier when you are a fresh brand because you can experiment, you can play there, because you don't have this reputation. You don't have stakeholders looking at you being like, are you sure you want to dance on TikTok? So it's definitely something that, I see brands struggle with all the time. And the only way, like you all said, to really narrow that down and find the solution is experiment and get pushback from your stakeholders, get pushback from your audience, and then you'll find it eventually. I did see a hand.
Yes, I do have a question. Is it value, like for somebody who's starting a brand right now, or it's a small brand that hasn't had a lot of exposure on Instagram? I hear a lot because I love social media, but I'm not like the most knowledgeable person when it comes to this, honestly. I understand that there's, you can actually pay to boost, like post things like that, and then there's like the organic thing. So are you guys all doing organic? Are you guys paying? And if we're paying, like how much would be worth it to, like, for that effort?
The question was, if you guys couldn't hear, I'm sure you can, but if not, are they doing organic or paid marketing? And if you're doing paid, what's like the minimum or average spend that you're putting across for each post?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what we do, and I'm sure everybody has their own. I think if you're starting out, my advice would be don't do paid boosts to begin. Just go with organic, find what works, and then we occasionally do paid boosts here and there on some of our channels, but I think the strategy there is see what people really liked, see what worked, and then boost it later. I have found that if you just start boosting everything, your organic reach is going to go down. So I would not do that, but that's just me.
We pay for Google for our webpage, but we don't do anything else. We've never given Meta or YouTube anything. I think there's the myth that it hurts. If you pay and pay and pay, and then all of a sudden you stop paying, that the Meta algorithm's going to say, well, you're going to tank your video until you start paying again. So we've never done, but that it goes back to that consistency. Keep posting, and eventually something will hit. You might have 10 dud videos, and then you'll have one good one, and just sort of keep going like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also totally agreeing with Brian. If you're just starting out, don't boost, because you will actually not know what's really performing for you, and that's you need to experiment. Take the time to experiment, and if anything, spend that money in targeted advertisement to a specific what's it called,
Audience.
Audience, or a specific campaign that you want to do, that you could see what that does for you. But if you're just trying to grow on social media, the way that it is now, it was maybe different 6 years ago, but it is different now. The Reels has really changed the way it is. The short content has changed the reach and how quickly things go viral. So I would say it's not worth it. You're not going to get what you want out of it, and you will certainly not get your audience. You will get some other audience, but it's not going to be the right audience. So I wouldn't do that unless it's a very specific product that you want to do a proper campaign for, and you do Google Ads, or you're trying to spend money on SEO in your website. Do a proper SEO for your website. Pay somebody to do a good job for you doing that. That's worth it. Spending it on Instagram or TikTok, no.
I have experimented with paid ads in the past, just a little bit to see what happens, and like you said, you end up reaching a mass audience that's irrelevant to who you're trying to attract. So my advice would be to keep creating content. If you're just starting out, know that the first 60 to 100 are going to be crap, and be okay with that, and just keep going. Don't overthink. Post once a day, twice a day. See what happens if you post 3 to 5 times a day. The main thing if you're starting out is to experiment and see what flies, and then keep doing that thing, and then eliminate the other things that didn't work.
I have one more thing to add, which I think is overlooked, is the engagement. Like with us, we have pretty big social media, and I respond to tons of DMs. My Instagram DMs are always read. So I read all of them. I don't respond to all of them. I physically cannot. But if there's something, I try to like everything that people DM me. I don't have that turned off. So I at least try to give it a like. I respond to a lot of the things. If it's something personal people write, I always respond. It takes a lot of time. What people do is they put the content out, but then they don't do the work. They don't respond to every comment. If you have a small channel on any social media, respond to every single comment. If people DMing you, reply to them, that they know it's a real person replied. If you're busy and you can't do it, have somebody else on your team do it. Hire somebody to do it.
Don't use AI. Yeah, just saying don't use AI, because I think all of us now know what AI sounds like, and then the audience knows that as well. So we have a team that answers. If I can't answer the DMs, usually someone else in the short-based team. Or a person. But don't use AI.
Same here, like on my team, the same thing. So it's just really important that these people know that you exist, that when they're reaching out, that it mattered to you. So for us, like, we constantly get messages like, I can't believe that you reply. I can't believe that you guys are one of the few channels that do what you do. They actually reply to the comments, reply to so many. So
that's how you convert someone from a fan into a super fan.
Exactly.
And that's ideally what you want to get, is you want those people that come back for your content, that have the little bell go off every time that you post something, and then they comment, they like, and then they share it, and then the algorithm picks that up, and then that's how you get wider reach.
Like, you must know, like, your top 10 crazy fans, right? Like, what they're...
We have no crazy fans.
Like, really serious fans. Like, I know the top 15 people. I know their handle. I know their name. I've met some of them. So I think it's really important, as you build the brand, to build that engagement. People always say engagement, but I feel like a lot of the times people think, like, when you get to a certain level, you don't have the time. Like, we do it. We all do it. And that's part of the reason that the brand is successful, because every time I read the comments on YouTube, I know what people like or don't like. I try to read as many as I can. So part of my team will respond to stuff like, great video. I'm not going to respond to it. We have somebody else that will respond to that, a real person. But if there's something that's like, would love to see a tour of this, or this is my real thoughts, this is a feedback, like, they will leave it for me, and we will read these comments and we will respond to them. So as soon as you lose that connection with your audience, it's not worth it. You might as well stop doing it. So you need to have that real connection. It's really, really important to keep building the brand.
So we have one final question in the audience, and then Victoria, I have one more question for you, but just being conscious of time here.
Yeah, following on that last comment, can the generated AI content can damage your brand? You're making AI content?
Yeah, we're talking about
Like posts and stuff?
Well, I mean, a lot of... So, like, we have a couple of back-of-house programs. Like, we use vidIQ on YouTube, later on Insta. And you can, you can click on there, and the AI will read the question and then tailor a reply to it. So even though, and like on vidIQ, I think it gives you like you can do a witty, you can do a humorous, you can do a dry, or just a thankful reply. And like, well, normally you can click on some of them, but some of them they don't sound human. and that's it. As far as AI content, we haven't found really a way of doing it yet. So for us, we haven't really found a way to make it work for us yet, but I know that it's definitely coming.
Yeah, I mean, we have a suite of tools that we use, and it always requires like a human check. It's not like we don't automate content, but yeah, if you're interested afterwards, I can give you a list of our suite of tools. Like we'll use ChatGPT to script something out. We'll use Play HT to generate stuff. We'll have an editor edit the final version. We use a lot of AI tools, but again, we don't just let it go and automate it, and that's much different than, like we were saying, chatbots. Like we wouldn't use anything that automates that. We don't use any scheduling. I know a lot of people use that. We just post directly, so I think that stuff can be detrimental to your account. But if you use AI in a intelligent way and you have real people using it, I think it can be leveraged very well. So
yeah, the only thing we really would use AI for is like we use ChatGPT for some of our captions sometimes when it's like, look at the boat in France and you're like, oh, what am I going to write for this? And so you kind of put in like 5 or 6 prompts, and then it can give you at least a decent paragraph, and then you try and humanize the answer that spat out.
Sorry, hand it to you. So, we had this clip that got like 250,000 plays or something on Instagram, and it was early on when ChatGPT started letting you create images, and I said create a center console with 27 outboards, and we used a bunch of the images, and I voiced it over with an AI voiceover. I can't remember which one I used. I think it was 11 Labs or something, but we just said how many outboard engines can you fit on a center console, and it was a silly video, but it got 250,000 views. So I think that's a good example. But we edited it in Adobe Premiere, but we generated it in AI. So
I think with AI, if it's clear AI, that's a great way to use that, and I think that people are responding to it just fine. If you are going to use it and pretend that it's you, then you really need to rework some of it. I mean, we use, I know our assistant uses ChatGPT on an everyday basis for certain pitches and certain things, and he will have it done in ChatGPT, and then he will fix it and send it back to me, and then I will sometimes correct something, and then we will send it. So by the time somebody receives it, that is far from where it was, but it's a good start. For certain things, it's good stuff for research, but I would be really careful to just let that and then post it. One of the things recently I was reading a really interesting article talked about Google and YouTube obviously being one, even though they don't fully say that they're really one, but they really are. That they're looking very seriously at descriptions in the YouTube videos, and when those descriptions feel very much AI, it will hurt the videos. So I truly believe that. I think that as SGO, I believe that's what it's called. Please correct me, whatever that thing's called. Not SEO, I think SGO. What it is now is basically the way Google thinks of when you search for something. It's looking for real human input on what that is. So it actually looks and recognizes when it's AI, and it will not rank you higher. It will rank you if you're a real person. So it looks for those connections, for real writing of it actually looks for a human. So anybody who puts out a content now going forward, and a year from now it's going to be even more so, that is a real content, real writing, is going to be ranked higher than the AI, because there's so much more of it. So think of it when you create content, when you do these, write these descriptions and things, that it doesn't hurt you later. Because if you it's easy for you now and everyone says just do it, be careful, make sure you rewrite, you change some words, you maybe change a sentence. Don't just leave it purely AI, because the smarter the recognition will get in the next year or two, the more this content will be downgraded, basically. Especially talking about websites. Be very careful with your websites when you just purely create something in AI and post on your website, because it will not do that well in the long run.
All right. Victoria, we are, try to stay on schedule, but I think this is an important question to ask you.
Quick.
We do, yeah, exactly. We do have a lot of influencers in the audience. The cast of Below Deck is here. Other influencers, notable captains and PR companies and the likes. Being an influencer yourself, and arguably everyone of you standing up here or sitting up here is, what are the pros and cons, be careful how you answer this to them, of influencer collaboration in the industry from the brand's perspective in under 30 seconds? Go.
Okay,
I'm
I'm going to do one quick or two quick points. If you do collaborate, or if you decide, okay, you know what, I don't want to buy all that equipment, let's see who's out there in the market already, who has a channel which is successful. Let's see if we can work with them and pitch our product or service, whatever it might be. Vet them, make sure you like what they put out in the past. Vet their followers, their subscribers, their views. Because if somebody has 1 million subscribers and gets, 500,000 views on the video, but there are 5 comments on that, most likely they're not real. And then also just keep in mind, whatever that channel puts out, it's they own the content. You don't own the content. So make sure you just you're happy with whoever you work together with prior to working with that person.
Separate the difference between organic collaborations and work for hire. They're two very different things. When you work with all sorts of influencers, if you work for hire and you have a proper contract and you own the content, and if it is organic collaboration, you will not. So respect the influencers and respect that if they are doing this and it's not work for hire, meaning you don't own the content, that you are only posting the embedded links and you're not, I've had this many times and I will never work with these brands again, that will literally rip the content and they will repost it on their YouTube channel, and I know they literally don't know better. Like, some of them do and some of them literally don't know that it's wrong. So I think the cons is, if you don't do your research, you might end up somebody misrepresenting your brand. So you have to be careful with who you work with. But in reality, it's all pros. Like, there is one of the greatest things I think is that might be a different approach to your brand that you haven't thought of, which is something that there's a fresh thing that influencer might bring in. The biggest thing is reach. We're talking about this yachting industry. The biggest, one of my favorite examples, the biggest boat show in the world, which is, let's say Flips is, because it keeps going back and forth, but Flips, 100,000 people attendance is a good show. And that 100,000 people, I mean, we have some boat brands here in the audience. How many people end up in your booth over Flips? Give us a number. 1,500. 1,500. How many of these people are actually spending 30 minutes to an hour deep dive into your brand, know things about it, really, really see what that is? I mean, we're talking maybe 500. So think about that. When we put out a video, let's say a yacht tour, and it's 100,000 views, that's a pretty bad video for us. So the reach you get is massive. So there's very little downside. If you do a research, working with influencers is all pros.
Yeah, just to add one
What's
thing.
your question?
Just to add one thing is make sure that their audience aligns too. Like, I think that's when like we've vetted people and said, oh, they have good engagement, they're good, but then the audience just wasn't interested in what we did, So I think that's one good thing about it too. Hype Auditor is a tool you can use. There's a number of tools that can give you kind of an AI idea of it. They're not all that great, but I'm just saying there's a number of those out there too.
To end this, I'll give you a really good example of a brand that Dennis and Yachting, I'm sure they're okay with me saying it, they've done a collaboration with a very large channel, and it had nothing to do with yachting industry. It was a really big channel, so when the video came out on their channel, not on Dennis, but on the other channel, they literally gained like 45,000 subscribers overnight. We watched it happen because we were about to pass them, and we were literally about to pass them that day, and 45,000 subscribers, and it looked insane. We're like, what did they do? So we went and saw the content that was put out. and they never promoted it. Dennis never promoted it because it was not good for their brand. It didn't align with their brand. It actually kind of hurt. So they never ever promoted it. But if you watch the video, it's cringy. It's not good. And all these people that they end up with, they're actually not there for the right reason. They're not interested really in Dennis and yachting, and they didn't really stay. And if they did, they didn't add anything to the brand. So just because you have an opportunity to go and work with a massive creator does not mean that this is going to be good for your brand. So think twice who you collaborate with. Sometimes collaborating with somebody who maybe has 50,000 subscribers but solid and like a really, really good following is going to be better for your brand than working with someone who has 4 million. It has nothing to do with what you do and can actually hurt you.
This is the last thing now. I always have to have the last word in our relationship. No. Yeah. Oh, not. No, but seriously, just to that point, actually, when you decide to work with another influencer or with any creator, actually, look at the views, especially on YouTube. Subscribers mean absolutely nothing. They're just there and look pretty, but it really doesn't translate into anything. Look at the monthly views, look at the video views, look at the total views of the channel. Now it's a little bit diluted because of the short content and the long content, but still you get a pretty good idea. There are websites out there you can, just pretty much put any YouTube channel in, just punch in the name, and it spits out, how many subscribers they're growing, how many views they're getting, and so on. So I think that's really important. If you want to collaborate with somebody or hire somebody, do your homework first.
So before we end, I would just like to thank all the speakers up here who came and showed up today and answered these questions for us.
Yeah, and thanks to Unbridled and Captain Liam and the owner and all sponsors too.
And the crew who absolutely crushed this event. Give it up for the crew.
And thanks to you guys for coming to support this first event that Unbridled has hosted. Thank you, Captain Liam, for making all of this happen. And Oriana, it's been a pleasure working with you on this too. I'd like to encourage you guys before we leave to try and connect and push yourselves there. Try and connect with 7 different people that you don't know and have never met and are not in the same kind of category in the yachting industry. We all work in the yachting industry, and that's what brought us here. I hope we all work in the yachting industry. But yeah, I encourage you to connect with 7 new people. We gave you those notebooks. There's a space in there to write down their names or whatever. There's also a nice cheat sheet that we put together for you. Hopefully it helps those who are getting started. Yeah, thank you all for coming, guys. Oriana?
Thanks, folks. Just finally one more thing. I just want to thank the owner. Don't take half an hour, I promise. Just want to thank the owner, really special, and he's given us this platform. It is really unique. We must be grateful for that. I want to thank Northrop and Johnson, all the charter brokers in the industry. What you do is really special for the industry. You hold us together, put us in the right direction, and social media is a very exciting part of it. This is a 3-part seminar. So tonight we're all part of the first one. A lot of people could not make it. So there was pending, a lot of people were pending. Over 100 people were pending to attend this event. They saw it live, hopefully. The next one will be Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, and the final one Antigua Boat Show, December 4th tonight. Yes. Have a wonderful evening. Thank the crew. Thanks Chef Calvin Stokes. Thanks all the speakers. Look after yourself and be blessed.